Hello everyone. I'm Dr. Manish Mahajan, Senior Consultant Neurologist and Head of Neuroimmunology at Artemis Agrim Institute of Neurosciences. So when we consider multiple sclerosis as a public health problem, for India in particular, the first question that arises in our mind is, do I need to talk about this? Before we answer this one, let us discuss multiple sclerosis further to make an informed decision. The estimated risk of developing multiple sclerosis is quite low, approximately 0.1% in the general population. However, the chronic nature of the illness makes this disorder highly prevalent. As per the Multiple Sclerosis International Federation Global Study of 2014, around 2.5 million people are affected with multiple sclerosis worldwide, though with geographical heterogeneity. The latitude gradient is evident from the MS prevalence graphs, but it is interesting to note that an individual acquires the local geographical risk of MS if she or he migrates before puberty. Indian prevalence has been estimated in the distant past using the then available tools to be quite low, that is 1.3 per 100,000, but MS is second only to trauma as a cause of neurological disability beginning in early to middle adulthood, that is 20 to 40 years of age, and the onset is rare before 10 and beyond 50 years of age. It involves females thrice as commonly as males. This implies that it hits an individual during her or his most productive phase of the life. There exists a complex interplay of environment and genetics in the genesis of MS, as highlighted by the twin studies and the migration studies. No specific Mendelian gene or infective agent has been found to be causal for MS. However, the risk is increased to 2 to 5% with an affected first degree relative, and furthermore with an affected monozygotic twin. Presence of antibodies against Epstein-Barr virus, vitamin D deficiency, smoking and obesity has been found to be highly prevalent in people with MS. MS manifests commonly in up to 85% of the cases as clinical attacks or relapses, that is, relapsing remitting MS or RRMS. This results from an idiopathic or primary, that means it is not secondary to any infectious, toxic, vascular or genetic developmental cause and is immune mediated. Inflammatory damage to the outer insulation of the central nervous system, which include brain, spinal cord and the optic nerve neurons, that is the myelin sheath. Loss of this myelin sheath, which is called as demyelination, causes diminished conductions across the affected neurons to produce variable signs and symptoms as per the site and the extent of the CNS involvement that can be solitary, multifocal or diffuse and can happen simultaneously or sequentially. This dissemination of time and space, either established clinically or radiologically using a magnetic resonance imaging or MRI with gadolinium based contrast, is the basis of the diagnosis of MS after the exclusion of other secondary causes of demyelination, and also with the use of blood investigation and the CSF examination. This constitutes the most important and crucial step towards the optimal management of MS, as any error may lead to undesired and unwarranted treatment and or its effects. There are few typical, albeit non-specific manifestations, including with visual loss from one eye with pain on movement of the eye, which we call as optic neuritis. It's because of the swelling of the optic nerve and it's a common presenting symptom. There are others which include double vision, sensory loss, abdominal sensation, incoordination, weakness or stiffness of one or more limbs, imbalance while walking, urinary urgency or incontinence, fatigue that is out of proportion to the activity, mental fogging or diminished speed of processing of the information. So by definition, MS is a chronic primary CNS demyelinating disease with two predominant forms, the commoner being the relapsing remitting or the RRMS, that is in the 85% of the cases, and the progressive MS. Now in RRMS, a typical attack consists of an individual or a combination of presentations which develop over hours and last for at least 24 hours with a gradual, spontaneous, complete or incomplete resolution. This may be followed by a variable inter-attack interval with or without residual disability. This unpredictability and variability of the attack frequency and severity contributes to the heterogeneity of the MS and a significant management challenge. The progressive MS is characterized by the disability progression independent of the attacks. If this disability progression happens from the outset of the disease course, it is called as the primary progressive MS. On the other hand, if this happens after 1 or 2 decades into the course of RRMS, It is labeled as secondary progressive MS. So, the key to prevent disability is early diagnosis and effective control of inflammation with the use of disease-modifying therapy. And early intervention is important to prevent or limit disability, as is clear from this graph. There are three components of the long-term management of the most common form of MS, that is the RRMS. First is the treatment of an acute attack with the use of intravenous pulse steroids for a speedy recovery. Secondly, the prevention of a relapse and disability progression with the use of disease-modifying therapies, each one of them with a unique set of efficacy, cost, and side effect profile. Now, the decision of a disease-modifying agent is based upon the disease characteristics and the patient profile. Third is the treatment of the symptoms and physical rehabilitation. There is a need for more comprehensive multidisciplinary care of people with MS through dedicated MS clinics, where there is a scope of detailed assessment and discussion involving all the stakeholders about long-term management plans, including rehabilitation and psychological issues. However, the cost of this care is substantial and is further complicated as most of the people with MS must pay from their own pocket, in addition to at times loss of employment, resulting in poor compliance and huge treatment gaps. The ongoing COVID pandemic has affected the care of people with MS. However, there are certain solutions to that. Very importantly, there is no increased risk of COVID and its complications in people with MS, irrespective of their treatment status. Barring few, most of the DMTs are considered safe in the COVID times. The currently available vaccines in India are both safe and effective in people with MS if timed properly as per the individual disease-modifying therapy. Consult your neurologist or MS physician for this. As the founder director of People for People with MS Foundation and the member of Neuroimmunology subsection of Indian Academy of Neurology, I would like to connect with people with MS on 30th May, the World MS Day, and call upon Indian people with MS to participate actively in their own care and the future research on MS. Thanks for a patient hearing.